My name is Victor Paul Borg. I am a journalist and a photographer by profession. I lived in Asia for 15 years, where I worked as a journalist and a photographer in various countries, writing for various magazines. Eventually got married in Asia and we had a child. When it was time for the child to go to kindergarten, we came back to Malta for the child to go to kindergarten in Malta. Then disaster struck. And now, 3 years later, this is my story. I was arrested within 2 hours. There had been no sex abuse, but still the investigation dragged on. They confiscated all computers. The only thing she wanted to be happy was to be able to see her father. When our marriage broke down, the only thing I wanted is to continue to being involved in my daughter's parenting. I believe, and I read a lot about this, and it's also what my daughter wanted, that both parents should be involved in raising the child even after the separation. Be involved as equally as possible and in a spectrum of ways. But I quickly found out when we went to court that the system in Malta doesn't see it like that. That the system in Malta sees the mother mostly as the primary parent and the father as the secondary parent. The father many times is reduced to someone who has access to his child or who sees his child. So in the court, I strived for a shared parenting arrangement, which according to studies is the best arrangement that a child can have. But as I started striving for this arrangement, then the false accusations started. And the point of the false accusations was to discredit me as a parent, to disparage me, and to show that I'm an irresponsible and bad parent. So I shouldn't be involved in parenting. So the accusations that started were first, a series of accusations. That I threatened my wife, that I tried to run her over, that I'm a drug addict, that I'm an alcoholic, that I shouted to the hawker where she used to buy vegetables, that I harassed her, that I was a stalker, and finally, I was even accused of sexually abusing my daughter. When I was accused of sexually abusing my daughter, I was arrested within 2 hours. The police searched my house, they confiscated all computers, they confiscated my tablet. Access to my daughter was reduced to a couple of hours of supervised access under the supervision of a social worker every week. And that took quite some time to arrange. So in fact, for about 48 days, I did not see or speak to my daughter. I felt terrible. I felt so bad and so traumatized that I ended up taking anti-anxiety pills to be able to sleep well at night. I lost a lot of work. I felt that the system was condemning me. Even seeing my daughter under supervision of the social worker was humiliating. We used to be out in cafes, and for example, my daughter would need to go to the toilet, and she would ask me to go with her to the toilet. We're talking about a 5-year-old child who is scared of going to the toilet on her own. And the social worker would stop me and tell me, no, you cannot go inside the toilet with your daughter. And my daughter couldn't understand why this was happening. Because my daughter, she only ever knew a loving, caring father. That I was. So she couldn't understand, I couldn't understand. My daughter was also traumatized. I developed a stomach ulcer that is probably from the stress. My daughter had an intestinal condition that pediatrician thought could be psychosomatic, also from the stress. Many parents in my situation who end up being accused of sexually abusing their child, something which is so terrible, end up drinking or end up in some sort of depression. I decided to do the opposite. I decided first to fight back and to keep myself healthy. So in fact, what I did is I started going swimming every day and I started eating very healthy. So now I go swimming even in the winter time. The important thing is that I keep my mind strong. As far as possible, I swim every day, summer and winter. I feel a certain clarity. I feel clarity and I feel it relaxes me. And sometimes when the sea is a bit rough, you're battling against the wave and you're feeling cold. But afterwards, when I come out, I feel refreshed and reinvigorated. My daughter told the social workers, and eventually they put it down in their report, that the only thing she wanted to be happy was to be able to see her father. So investigation team. There were investigations by various experts, by a psychiatrist, by a psychologist, by social workers. After a few months, all of them found out that these allegations didn't hold up, that there had been no sex abuse. But still, the investigation dragged on and on and on. And it was a year before I was exonerated. And as we went on, I found out that the system in Malta doesn't work. It's completely broken. The way they deal with care arrangement of children in family courts and the way they investigate allegations of abuse, it's not working. It works in favor, in fact, we could say it works in favor of the accuser, because the accuser gains time and the accused is trampled underneath. So now I've continued my research and I've decided to launch a campaign in a bid to change the system. I want to change the way the family court processes these kind of cases. And I want to change how abuse allegations are investigated. And I want to change the mentality of parents trying to cut the other parent out of the child's life. Because the best thing for a child is to continue to have access to each parent as equally as possible.